Good evening. I'd like to begin tonight by acknowledging that we're on traditional Coast Salish territory and welcome you to SFU's Centre for Dialogue. My name is Shaheen Nanji, and I'm Director of International Development at SFU and co-director for the Engaging Diasporas for Development project. On behalf of SFU and our project partners, CUSO-VSO and British Columbia Council for International Education, I'm pleased to welcome you to tonight's dialogue, which is the third in a series of 5 dialogues with 3 major objectives. The first is to facilitate a network of members of the diaspora who are contributing to global development. The second is to provide a public space for members of the diaspora to tell the stories of the amazing work that they're doing and how being in the diaspora enables them to connect communities internationally. And the third is to articulate the potential for diaspora engagement and how that potential can be unleashed. With funding from the Canadian International Development Agency, the project began last October when we undertook research on diasporas doing development, particularly those in Metro Vancouver, to get a better sense of diasporic dynamics, motivations, needs, and work. Our first dialogue in January was on poverty and economic growth, and the second was on the ways that diasporas impact global health. And if you weren't able to join us, you can access the videos and reports on our website, which is on the sheet in front of you. We're also in the midst of a series of workshops that are intended to provide a space for networking and community in order to build the skills and connections to help participants achieve their goals. For the purpose of this project, we take the term diaspora to mean people who retain a sense of identity with a remote location. In many cases, in addition to feeling an attachment to another home, diasporas also feel a sense of attachment and belonging to Canada. We're interested in this duality and the associated capacity, cultural agility, and commitment inherent in diasporas, and how that is brought to bear on the economic, social, and political development of the Global South. Tonight's dialogue is on education. I'll turn the floor over to the co-director of the project, Joanna Ashworth, who's worked for the past 10 years practicing the art of hosting dialogue.
Well, thank you very much, Shaheen, and welcome everybody. For whom is this the very first time you're at the Centre for Dialogue? First time? Oh, fantastic. This is so exciting. And for those of you, are you returning? You've been part of the series before? Who's been to other dialogues that we've had in this series? Oh, that's wonderful. So we're building and widening the circle, and this is really exactly, as Shaheen pointed out, the purpose of this series and tonight. First of all, I just want to say a few things about the room so we can get comfortable right away in this space. You probably walked in and went, wow, it's like the UN, but I'm going to say it's actually better because it actually are full concentric circles. There's 154 seats in this space. Each one of them has its own microphone, you might have noticed. The only thing about the microphones I need to caution you about is that they can't be all pushed at the same time or will actually probably blow the roof off the place. But what we're going to do when we open up the conversation, and we're going to ask people to share their ideas and their thoughts as we move through the evening, I'm going to ask you to please be recognized by myself and my co-moderator, Umeeda Switlo, who I'm going to introduce in a minute. Umeeda is over there. But if you could please be recognized, and you'll see in front of you is a little gray button. Just look at it, don't push it. And after you've been recognized, and we'll line up people to speak, and hopefully we'll hear from a lot of you tonight, you just push the button, the red light will go on the microphone, and if you're about 8 inches away, that's just perfect. If you get too close, it gets a bit fuzzy. So I'm just going to ask you to remember that when the time comes when we open up the room. Also, your chairs, you might notice how comfortable they are. And for some of you might notice that you're actually sitting quite low. If you're happy with that, that's fine. If you want to raise up your seat, there's some levers on the side. You basically just pull the lever at the right up, and your seat should pop up for you. So just a little tip. Bathrooms are downstairs, just on these stairs here, or the elevator, the elevator over to your left. Stairs on the right, just go downstairs. Women's right below us, and men's are just keep carrying along. So feel free to use them whenever necessary. Because we have a lot of stories and a lot of people in the room, and we want to hear from as many of you as possible, we're going to enact a timekeeping situation. And Shaheen, and I think, is it Shams Alibai? She's going to be our official and Danielle, official timekeepers. So we're going to say, be brief, be focused, be relevant to the conversation. And yellow means you've got a minute left, and this goes for our named speakers as well as the rest of you. Yellow means you've got a minute left, and red means get out the hook. Okay, so it's pink, so it's a little softer than red. That's nice. And I just want to say a little bit about dialogue. The dialogue is really up to you and the way that you are here in the space. It's really a search for meaning. It's not about coming to a decision. We're not going to make an agreement at the end of the night. And actually, that's okay. We're going to look at the complexity of development, of education, of the role of diaspora, the potential, the current state, and what the enabling environment looks like. But we want to do it in an atmosphere of inclusion, of respect, and exceptional listening. Because, of course, there's many people here tonight, and I find that when we're really listening well, it allows those people to speak really clearly and to speak what they need to say and then make space for others. So I'm going to encourage everyone, including myself, to really listen fully to not just the words, but the feeling and the values that are beneath the words. So very excited about our conversation tonight. For those of you who might be interested in following the Twitter work that's going to be happening tonight, where's Ginny? She's going to be tweeting, live tweeting, and if our hashtag is hashtag SFU Diaspora. Yeah, it's right up there. So if you want to follow us on Twitter, or if you want to tweet, you just connect to our hashtag. We'd love for you to do so. I also just want to acknowledge the folks from who are doing the photography and the sound tonight, Narrative 360. They're a wonderful not-for-profit organization that does documentary photography work. So just, I hope that sets the scene a little bit in terms of the room and how we're going to use it. And I just want to say a little bit, oh, and did you get a chance to do your name tag and find an image of what education means to you? I think that was great fun to have a chance to explore our inner early learner and use some paper and glue and a few feathers. I think there's nothing like a few crafts to really equal the playing field, because I think we all enjoy that. So tonight is about education and about development. You notice the maps outside. We've been bringing those maps to our series, and we keep finding more and more projects and activities and initiatives that people who are based here in Metro Vancouver are doing all over the world. It's really tremendous to see how, again, we're learning about more and more projects and initiatives. So if you haven't had a chance to put your pin on the map and write a little note on a card, which we will compile and put up on our website, please do so at the reception tonight. So we've got a structure for the evening. You probably have all seen the program. We say sometimes that, we joke that it's a very spontaneous and highly structured event, dialogue, but really the structure is meant to give us some freedom. We've got some, I think, good questions, thanks to our group of advisors who have really helped guide us, that we hope will bring us into some new territory and some new understanding. Some working assumptions we have about education and development. With that in itself is a huge topic. So let me just begin by referencing who, for me, is one of the leaders in educational thought, the Brazilian educator Paulo Freire. And Freire suggests that education is the act of freedom, and that education is a dialogue between people based on the facts of their lives, and should not and must not be a banking system that makes deposits of knowledge into others. And so we're here tonight. It is a dialogue. It is meant to be an interaction. So just before we move to talk and to hear about the wonderful examples of education development, here's another assumption about development, which simply put is the process of change from one state to another. So that is really wide open for lots of conversation as well. Some would say that education is a powerful equalizer, opening doors to all and creating choices and opportunities where none have existed. Two of the Millennium Development Goals that have been set out by the UN relate to education. Two of them are universal primary completion and gender parity in primary and secondary schooling. So education, especially for girls, has been proven through the research to have an impact on the goals related to child and reproductive health and environmental sustainability. So we see the ripple effects. And I noticed in a lot of your name tags that there were a lot of rippling out and a sort of a movement of change. So tonight we're going to showcase the many ways that Metro Vancouver-based, diaspora-led efforts support education as an engine for change and for development by creating choices for individuals and communities in the Global South. So tonight we're going to be exploring the 3 questions. What kind of education is needed for development? How do educational projects create opportunities and choices? And what is unique and promising about diaspora-led educational strategies for development? So to get us started, I'm pleased to introduce Umeeda Switlo. She's with CUSO-VSO, and she is going to be our co-moderator tonight. And Umeeda is a wonderful person to be co-moderating, especially when it comes to stories, because she herself is a wonderful storyteller. She is also, in her work with CUSO, is involved with community engagement here in the Western Canada, and she brings, many talents, and above all, she's a wonderful listener. So what a great way to start a night that's really built around stories. So Umeeda, thank you.
Thank you very much. What a wonderful group of people. I've seen some of you before, and welcome new ones to this wonderful dialogue. It's my pleasure to be here. And I'd like to first introduce you to 2 magnificent storytellers. And we'll be talking and exploring the question, what kind of education is needed for development? The 2 storytellers we have was Randolph Dalton Hyman. He's a PhD student. I can't wait till he gets his PhD. Dr. Rand. At the Faculty of Education at SFU, and his roots in education are firmly planted in dance and the arts and education, particularly dance. Following Randolph, you'll hear from a young and vibrant lady, youth leader, somebody I really respect, Nazra Meyer. Nazra's family has journeyed from Somalia to the Middle East to Canada. Her passion of the arts has taken her back to Africa, that wonderful place, to share what she has learned and continues to learn about education. So let's hear your stories. Rand.